In this episode of Creative Studio Live, we'll be debating whether you should focus on making music or making money. I'm going to be joined by my co-host, Pete Johns from Studio Live today. Say hi, Pete.
Hi, Pete. It's great to be here, Mike. I love seeing you in black as always.
That's true, isn't it? So if you haven't joined us here before, Creative Studio Live is a new weekly show where Pete and myself debate topics on the broader subject of making music. And this week, as I said, it's going to be talking about whether you should focus on making music or making money. Now, the trick to this is that we will not know which one of us is debating on which side. So I will toss a coin later to decide whether it's me or Pete debating this or that. But before we get into that, what we usually like to do is catch up on each other's week quickly to see what we've been doing. So Pete from Studio Live today, which I should mention people should subscribe to in the just down below. Pete, what have you been up to this week?
I have been up to my usual thing, which is trying to get a video out every day while juggling everything else in the world. So, we've been talking about SoundCloud this week over on the channel on Studio Live today. We've been talking about a bunch of GarageBand goodness, and we've been talking about trying to release your best music and do good things. And just today, I talked about some 808. I don't know if you love the Roland TR-808, but I just put out a video about making some 808 beats on your phone. Can you believe that we have an 808 drum machine sitting on our iPhone these days, Mike? It's ridiculous. So
it's amazing. Do you know how much they cost back in the day?
Back in the day, they must have been a lot. I know that there's the knockoffs that they sell now for like $400 or $500, but the vintage ones are selling for a lot now. But I'm sure back in the day they cost a lot. I don't know. You're a little bit more. What's a nice word for old? You've been around a bit longer than me. So what did they cost back in the day?
I haven't got a clue. I was asking you.
Plenty. What's been happening over on Creative Source this week, Mike?
It's been a busy creative week. It's been a little bit crazy. I suppose the most exciting thing for me personally happened today because I went over 1,000 subscribers.
Woo!
And thank you. And I've only been at this a little less than 6 months. So, and it was only 6 weeks ago that I celebrated 500 subscribers. So I'm pretty happy about that. But one of the great things that happened is that I was able to take part in the release of a new plugin from Ample Sound for their Super Jumbo guitar, which is a very, very nice sounding instrument. And I had 3 licenses to give away, still have 3 licenses to give away. So if you didn't catch that, then please look through my videos and you can get a chance to win a full license for that really nice sounding guitar VST. So that's been a big part of what I've been up to. Now, let's not focus on the past. Let's focus on the present, Pete. I am now going to toss this coin here, which I've been rehearsing quite a bit today to get this right live. And this is going to decide on which side of the debate you sit on. So would you like to call heads or tails?
Tails never fails, mate. That's what I've been told. So let's go with tails.
All right, here we go. And it is, in fact, tails. I will hold that up there. Look, it's an Australian 20-cent coin tail.
Beautiful.
So you this is a bugger, isn't it? You get to choose which side of the debate you're on. So I'm going to ask you the question, Pete. Should we put most of our focus on making music or making money?
Well, now we mentioned this before, Mike, and I said that there's one side that I'm going to find a lot easier than the other side, and I'm going to have to take making music. So I'm going to throw you under the bus. I know you've had a big week, and I know you've been away from the studio, and you're going to have to tell us why we need to make money. So I guess that means I'll be talking about why we should be making music and focusing on that instead of making money.
It's horrible. You've turned really horrible, Pete. Johns, you used to be a nice guy. When you're on your own channel, you're a nice guy. What happened here? All right, then. Well, you've got to go first, my guest. So you tell me, why should we focus on music rather than money?
Right. So why should we focus on music? Well, like let's just look at the radio. Like, is radio even a thing these days? I'm not even sure. But
No.
what is popular these days? So what's on the radio or the streaming or the Spotify's or the whatever the children's listen to? Now, if you're focusing on money, is it not true that you would have to be making music similar to what is actually popular? And would you actually want to be making music like that? Like, if you listen to what's actually being put out there right now,
Great music is being put out
great
there right
music,
now, isn't
yeah,
it? Yeah,
great,
that's
great
what
music,
you're.
yeah. Is that what I'm saying? Yeah. No, so there's music being put out there right now that is, it's ordinary. My children like it, but they're 9 and 7. So, yeah,
Ooh.
the sort of music that you need to create these days to be popular and to make money with your music. I'm just saying that that's probably not the sort of music that I'll be keen to actually create myself. So I think my first point is that, yeah, I'm being look. I'm going to make some enemies here, but I don't think that the music that's coming out today is exactly what I want to make. And I don't know, if you want to make money, don't you have to chase the trends? Isn't that what they say these days? You have to do what is popular and be what is popular. And yeah, I'm just not convinced that that's the best way to go with your music. But convince me otherwise, Mike. It's all yours.
Well, I noticed that you fell into the trap there right away. First of all, the misconception that all modern music is rubbish. Not true, Pete Johns. I know I'm older than you, but honestly, you should be leading for the young. But what you were saying is about, it means you have to feed into trends. It's always been true that, well, not always, but for the last few decades, it's always been true that people have had to make music which is fashionable at the moment. But one of the great things that can happen if you empower yourself by being successful in music and making money is that by that sort of second or third album, you are able to choose what sort of music that you can make. Point in, was the Police. The Police were a band. They were very successful, and then that made Sting this kind of icon. And by the time he went solo, he was able to do whatever the hell he wants. So he made some jazz and stuff. Of course, shit music, but he tried his best. But he was able to do it. I did promise my kids I wouldn't swear tonight. I've done it, so that's bleep that out. I would arguably say that while the Police were new and their record company wanted them to make a particular type of music that was fashionable at the time, they actually made a lot better music. I think any of us would rather go to a Police concert than a Sting concert today. Not to talk down on Sting, because he's one of my idols, but still, I'll take the Police any day. So I'm just saying that follow the money first, and then you'll be empowered to make whatever artistic choices you want to make later. So I think I've beat you there. So,
well, it's an interesting point, and you know what? If you want to make a living, that's fine. But we're artists here, so let's continue on. So once you are chasing the money, don't you think that you're possibly chasing the fun out of your music too? So you've probably heard stories about people that have a hobby, so they're really into their music, they have a hobby, they turn it into a profession, and it sucks the joy. It removes all the fun, because suddenly, instead of choosing to do what you want to do, which is create music, you have to create music. So do you feel that it's a good thing to have to create music? Isn't art all about what you want to create? And if you are like having to suckle at the teat of a record, hang on, a record company still exists. I'm making this point. I'm like,
if they do, I'm not. If they do, I'm not sure they've got teats. But anyway, if you want to,
they may or may not have teats. But if you're suckling at whatever orifice of whatever entity you think is going to help you make money, and they're making decisions on you, because you know what comes with fame and fortune and this sort of thing. And Macklemore sings about the time, but it comes with like commercial. There's businesses, there's these big entities that then want to tell you what to do. So as soon as you move and you're like, oh, my lovely little hobby is now a profession, then suddenly you're actually going to have to make money and pay the bills and to do what you're told. So I think there's an inherent risk in taking what you love doing, turning it into your job. And you know what they say? No one likes doing their job. So yeah, maybe you need to keep it as something fun and not lose that passion. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, well, I must admit that Pete does make a reasonable point here. I should have pointed out at the beginning of the show, actually, in these shows, we do 5 points each. So that's Pete's second point. I think I definitely beat him. It was a slam dunk on the first point. So I've awarded myself 25,000 points for that, and 10,000 points to you for that. Well, I haven't made my second point, but yours was really, really good. So I'm not going to lead on from it. But I just want to point out that, you know, you can't keep living in the dark ages, Pete. I know, you know, that you're a guy not as old as me in years, but maybe it sounds like about 50 years older than me in opinions. So I was getting nasty now. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Yep. Back in those old, you know, the blues days, back in the 1920s, when, you know, when you sort of had people like, well, who was the guy at the Crossroads, the blues guy? Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson. He was able to make that record that was famous, the Crossroads Run, with a rubbish old 5-string guitar with a string missing. Out of tune, no guitar tuners. It just, you know, that was acceptable back then in the 1920s. But now we are expected to make a much, much better quality of music. And to do that takes money. No one wants to listen to your rubbish old $500 guitar anymore. You better be looking at least $3,000 for a nice guitar. I'm just seeing one. I'm going to just interrupt myself here for a moment. One of my viewers, Pete Jackman, is here. Now, Pete, I just want to make an announcement. These views aren't necessarily my own. Pat, I should say. These views are not necessarily my own. This is a debate where we've had to choose. Anyway, so back to my point. Back in the 1920s, you could get away with some rubbish instruments, and, you know, let's face it, you could have a Hofner guitar, even an Epiphone, you know, was acceptable. But now you're expected to have good gear, you know, lovely Neumann U87 microphones. It's going to take money, so you're going to have to get out there gigging and put some of that money away to make sure that you've got the best chance to be successful in the music industry. So you're going to need some dollars for that, Pete. What say you?
What say I? So what you're saying is that when I produce my music on my iPad, that's a no-go. I need to go out and buy myself. I need to spend $1,000 or $2,000 on some microphones instead of upgrading my iPad. I gotcha. I'm all over that. Well, I'm glad you brought up that point because you've played perfectly into my hands here, which is that you have. So what you're saying is that the type of music that makes money is highly produced and is made by producers who have been making this sort of stuff. Like they know what they're doing. They've got the gear, they've got the talent, they've got the Pro Tools, they've got the templates with the 100 tracks and the 14 buses, and they know what they're doing. So who are you and I to go out there and start competing with them for that sweet, sweet cash out on the music business? So unless you have the time and the experience, and like we're like 20 years behind, aren't we? Like, unless you've got all of this gear already and you've got all the outboard gear and the racks and the 100 tracks on your Pro Tools sessions, are you going to be making the pop music as good as these people? Am I going to be making the pop music as good as these people? We're starting from such a low base that we can't possibly compete with all of these guys and girls that have got these giant studios and these mastering suites and things. Why would we even go out there and try and make money?
Well, you would, because you're determined and you're committed to your art, but you're going to have to make money in the process, you know. So you know, the point is that what I'm saying is money is a necessary evil to bring your beautiful music to the world, but necessary it is. We don't live in the golden era that you're obviously very attached to.
The Beatles recorded some great music on a 4-track recorder, and that's what everyone says whenever this argument comes up. So
Was that your
throw
third
that
point you made there, by the way?
That was like 3 and 3.5 point, I reckon.
All right,
So,
that was right. I think the scores now, because I made an awesome point there. So I'm on 57,000 points. You're on 13,652 points.
Might I add that when we do this show on my channel, you do the scoring, and when we do the show on your channel, you do the scoring. So
well,
I'm not quite sure we agreed to that, but we're going to go with it for now.
For some of us, math is our strong point. So, well, look, here's the thing, just following on from that, I want to say that, we do not live in this olden age, and as well as all of that equipment you're going to need. Actually, even if you're, an independent artist, you really do need some money for marketing. I mean, that's a big part of your budget if you want to be successful these days. I know people think that they're suddenly going to sort of get famous with YouTube, but I can tell you, it takes 6 months just to get 1,000 subscribers. So you're going to need some money to drop in there for advertising and a whole team behind you. So unfortunately, and I'm not a money motivated person, but you are going to need it to enter into this arena in the year 2019, aren't you, Peter? We can't live in the 60s anymore, Peter.
If only we could. If only we could live in this. Oh, wait, hang on. No, my channel would not exist, and I would not have mobile recording. It would not exist. No, maybe we shouldn't. But yes, no. I want to live in the 60s. That'd be kind of cool. Austin Powers style. Yeah. I will make you do an Austin Powers impression later. But for now, we need to continue on with the debate, because you know what the other thing about trying to make money is? Have you run a business? Mike, can I ask you that? Have you run a business in your time on this earth?
I have. Yes, indeed.
How do you feel about the paperwork when you're running a business? Do you love it, or is it something that you could do without?
It took me 3 businesses to realize I should be doing paperwork. Let's put it that way.
So let's talk about paperwork. So when you are running a business, and let's be honest, if you're making money in a band, you're either running a business or you are committing tax fraud. So let's just assume that you're running a business. The paperwork involved, tracking your income, tracking your expenses, getting an accountant on board to prepare your tax return, thinking about how you classify your different revenue. Is it a hobby? Is it a business? What is it actually for? If you're making music and you're sharing it as a hobby, if you're just having fun with it, it is free to make, it's free to share, and you have zero overhead. You don't have to worry. You don't have to spend a second worrying about any of that stuff. You can make what you want. You can do what you want. You can be what you want. As soon as it's a business, my goodness, have you filled out a BAS form lately, a GST form in Australia? Or I don't know what they have, what the American equivalent is, but these things are not fun, and these things are not great for your creative endeavors. So yes, unless you are making millions of dollars, which we'll talk about in point 5, don't worry about that. Unless you're making millions of dollars and can afford the best accountants, and you have to do all this stuff yourself, it is a grind. I'm telling you, it's a grind.
Well, you've played right into my hand, because obviously, as I've said, in order to you're going to need to earn enough money to pay an accountant, to take care of things like that for you, a manager to take care of all that rubbish, so that you can. But that's not my 5th point, and I don't know how many points we've done so far, because I've entirely lost track. But I would like to make this final point before I let you make a final point, because you're a guest. Look, we discussed Sting earlier, and here's the thing: you always have to play this balance with music between creativity and self-indulgence. Yes, we've all had to listen to our self-indulgent music friends at times, and it's not always easy. So the process of having to make money, which means you have to be at least partially commercial, sort of keeps you honest in terms of that. I think that you can actually be quite creative and be commercial at the same time. But you know, having to make some money just keeps you in the right ballpark. And that is my final point.
It
And
is.
I will go to you for your final point before I pick up on a couple of the comments.
Excellent. Well, I like that because I think you've given me an extra point here, but that's okay because I clearly had the tougher route here,
You did.
which is to protect art, because you know what? It's all about the money. It's all about the Benjamins. Someone told me that one time. They said it's all about the Benjamins, and I said I've got no idea what you're talking about. We don't have money with Benjamins in Australia. But let's think about music, and let's think about the music industry. How much money do you think there is in the music industry? So, you know, when you get your money out, you get your music out there, right? No one's buying CDs anymore. No one's a bit of vinyl, a bit of cassette these days. It's all a bit retro, but you need to be pretty successful. Do you know how much on average one listen to a stream makes these days? A bit of a ballpark.
Like,
what do you reckon?
like,
how much do we make?
You know, decimals of pennies.
Decimals of penny is right. So it's actually $0.007, which is 0.7 of a cent every time someone plays your music. So I did a bit of calculations here because I like my numbers here, Mike. So how many streams do you think you need to make $100? How many times does people need to play?
This is not fair. Is this a math test or a music debate?
You
to make $100, you need lots. You need lots and
lots. You need 14,000 is what you. What about $1,000? You need 142,000 streams. Did you know?
Yes.
And I know a lot of our folks here in the US. Do you know what the minimum wage is in the US? And we're going to get a bit political here, but it's $7.25 per hour, which means you can make $290 per week in the US in a 40-hour week with a minimum wage. Do you know how many streams you would need to earn the minimum wage?
Sure, this is all becoming a bit depressing now, isn't it? I don't know if anyone should watch the rest of this.
41,000 streams of your music you need to make the minimum wage. So my question to you, Mike, is should you slave away to try and get 41,000 people to listen to your music every single week, or should you go to, okay, now I need to Applebee's and work in the, I tried to think of, see, now I'm going to get in trouble from people that work at Applebee's. Should you just work a regular job and make money, or should you actually do that? By the way, the Australian minimum wage is $19 per hour. So any of our US friends, seriously, come down here to Australia and come and work here because we
okay. I think although you didn't articulate your last point very well at all, I mean, it's a little bit of a surprise you've got your own YouTube channel. But anyway, I'm going to listen before I tally up the points. This has been a bit nasty tonight, isn't it? I just want to say, just do a quick shout out because there has been a little activity in the chat. First of all, to Pat, I hope you, I know Pat is a man of substance, right? So I hope you didn't get the wrong idea, Pat, and think I was actually arguing these points seriously. And also, Casper, he said, I often find that the techniques of playing music itself is way more important than the quality of instrument. And if you need to pay for something better, well, that's what the 9-to-5 job is for. A good point, well made. And Pat said, you have to think outside of the box to make money in the music business. It's not just about the records. I've done film work. Yes, he's very right on that. Actually, I was thinking that as you were saying your inarticulate final point, that let's not think the music industry is all about, you know, what our kids listen to on Spotify. There's so many levels of the music industry, people that create music, you know, maybe for jingles, all the way down to, I don't want to do this downward thing, but all the way down to the busker on the street who makes some money out of music, to the guys who play in your local pubs, to the people that make music, I know as Case Crew does for video games, that kind of thing. So it's a very, very broad subject, actually, making a living out of music. But I'm going to tally up the points here. I had to deduct a few points from myself because they were terrible. So you have finished on, let me just, you have finished on 876,000 points. That's 876,000 points. And after adjustments for one of my final points, I'm actually on minus 365 points. So I do declare my co-host Pete Johns from Studio Live today as the winner, and I can now reveal that I entirely agree with him. Oh
Right.
my God, that was hard. That
It
was
was
very, very hard.
And you know what's funny, Mike, is that the points I was making, even though they were in favor of the direction I was going, I don't agree with them either. So, yeah, it's really bad. It's one of those things where someone's going to take this so out of context. Like, someone's going to
I
clip
know.
that bit of audio where I'm ranting about the minimum wage and thinking, Pete John says you shouldn't ever bother making music or try to monetize your music, which is absolutely not true. So, like most things, I think and as you know, because you've spoken to me before, but yeah, my opinion is right down the middle, is that you need to do what you want to do to make the music you want to make. And there are many ways to monetize your music outside of just putting it up there and streaming it and trying to make that 0.007 cents a stream that you make on Spotify. So everyone in your comments was right. You have very talented and insightful viewers here on your channel, Mike.
I do. And, you know, I'm just going to finish this off. We've got about another few minutes. We like to keep it in a half an hour.
Yep.
So for the people that are watching either the live stream at the moment or the replay later, please do remember this is a new weekly show. We're going to try and have some fun with it. Don't tune in thinking it's going to be too serious, because we do a lot of serious videos between us about things. We want to have this as a fun chat. If you'd like to sort of suggest any topics for debate, would love to hear them, because you know, some of the best ideas may well come from our viewers. But we are going to be alternating these shows from one channel to the other each week. So I am encouraging my subscribers to subscribe to Pete John Studio Live Today channel, because next week's show will be there around about this time, and we will have a new topic for you. But I want to thank you, Pete. This has been my first ever live stream on my channel. I know my video quality is not all that great, but I hope the content was fun for guys to watch. And I'm going to leave the final word with you.
I just want to say that, yes, despite however you want to make music, as long as you are making music and you are subscribed and watching Creative Source and Studio Live Today on a daily basis, we think you're an amazing person and that you are the best people ever.
You're just dreadfully commercial this evening, Peter. But yes, so thanks everyone for watching. It's really great that we do have a few people here watching. It keeps it interesting for us, keeps us able to bounce around. So we hope to see you next week. As I say, please leave some comments down below if you're watching the replay. We'd like to hear your opinions. Maybe some of you do think that there are some merits for chasing the dollar or the pound or the euro or whatever it is you need to chase. And I do think there could be some valid arguments on that side. I tried to make, but I'm afraid they weren't with much commitment. So with all that said, I hope to see Mr. Pete Johns this time next week, and all of you guys, and join in this discussion with us next week on this channel. We'll see you all later. Bye.
Thanks, folks. See ya.